tell us, we want to know, where have you been and are you still working on your golf? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday morning show. It's a big day. And the reason why I say it's a big day is because it's my birthday. October 16th, it's a Wednesday. I have not done a Q&A for a long time. And probably the first question you're going to ask is, what does Dan ask for his birthday? A backpack. Now, for me, the low pro. I've been looking at this bag for a long time because it's a camera bag. I travel an awful lot, as you know, and camera bags that I've had in the past have either been too big and the most recent one too small. When I was going up to St Andrews, I couldn't get 2 cameras into my bag. So I've gone for this particular model because it's small enough that I can take it on a plane, but it's big enough that it can hold the 2 big cameras that we use pretty much every day. Next question. It's not really a question, it's more of a comment that's come in. Why do I wear my hat a little bit kind of high and sat back? And the reason I do this is not because I think it looks cool, it's more because I don't want the shadow of the peak coming over my eyes too much. So when you're out filming in the sunshine, I think it's really important to get a full sort of view of my face. And when I pull my hat down, it actually creates that shadow, of which I don't like it in edit. So I always pop my cap up, gives you the full reflection of my face, and then you can really see into my eyes.
Am I allowed to ask a question, Dan?
Well, of course you can, Jord.
With where you are now and what you currently are doing in life in general, how does this compare to where you thought you'd be just coming out of university or just after you finished your PGA?
Absolutely no idea. Did my internship at a big resort in the States, but really didn't know where I wanted to go with it. However, my brother Paul had turned pro by the time I got home from America. I actually started working for Graham Ruth for a little while. For those of you who don't know Graham, he helps with all our holidays, and I was kind of getting involved with a magazine, funnily enough. I'm not sure what it's called now, Tea Times or something like that, Golf Tea Times or something like that. However, that didn't really unfold, and then I decided to turn pro. But then when you come out of the PGA side of things, where did I think I was going to be after PGA? Well, I really thought by now I would have worked my way up this ladder to be the head pro of a very prestigious golf club. I'm thinking something like a Royal Liverpool, or maybe go over to Prince's, or somewhere where maybe it's links orientated, maybe even Heathland orientated, but really kind of high profile. I mean, even Saunton. Probably Saunton would be my #1 pick as a club that I would want to be kind of the head pro at. It's in Devon. It's the type of quality of golf course that I'd be involved in. So that's it, Jordan. That's where I really thought I would be. Am I there? Absolutely not. Completely different avenue. But that's the beauty of life, isn't it? Now, Andy Barton has said, with the rising costs, should more clubs have an Artisan section? I don't think there's a bigger, better time now to have Artisan sections in some way, shape or form. And the reason I say that is because the costs of being a member of a golf club. Do I think there should be Artisan sections built up again? I think there should be something along those lines that gives people a cheaper option to be a member of that golf club. Artisans, you've got to remember, they're kind of the working class back in the day that would help run the golf course. They would do the divoting, they would, not necessarily cutting, but certainly looking after the golf course in some way, shape or form. So do I think that there's a place for it now? 100%, Andy. I think there should be more artisan golf clubs around, and those golf clubs are within the current golf clubs, just a different type of membership. So next question, this is from Lee Jones. Hello Lee, me and my son are looking to play a golf course near the Devon Cliffs Holiday Park this summer or next summer. I have no idea where Devon Cliffs Holiday Park actually is. I know it's located in Exmouth, I believe. Well, I would say East Devon Golf Club is definitely one that you should consider. It would be close by, and then maybe look at somewhere like Sidmouth. Great golf course. If you're going there up in the evening, it's an absolutely stunning golf course for evening golf. So those are the two that I would say. You could start out by singing to me.
Oh, no chance. No chance. I think the beard is.
The beard's looking lovely. I really like the beard, actually. It says, what's become of Wilbur? Is he still grinding at golf?
Not particularly, no. I play probably maybe once a week with friends. When the Euro Pro obviously folded,
yeah,
I lost my card because of that, and with the amount of money that the clutch want per event, like 500 quid and stuff like that, I just thought it's not worth it. You're not going to make your money back, sort of thing, unless you win the event. What's
the plan with your PGA? I know you were talking about like opportunities of possibly getting back into it at some point.
But to be honest, I got a job and I quite enjoyed it. I'm working at Asda as one of the managers there, just for online shopping, and I just thought I'll make some money doing that, and then I just haven't really got back into it that much at
Okay.
the minute, but my intention is to get back playing again, like properly.
Well, I think that's good enough. I think, obviously, I want to get Wilbur on for a podcast at some point because I think I'd love to hear his story and talk more about that. But I also want to get you back out onto the golf course, and at some point we will do that as well, Wilbur.
Yeah, and just a quick one, happy birthday.
What a welcome back, and everyone's very happy that you've given us an update on how you're getting on. Next question, Russell Partridge. Great channel, Dan. Been a follower from day one. Thank you so much, Russell. Question is, how would a young Dan approach the game now knowing how much it's changed? I had an amazing opportunity when I was a little bit younger, going over to university, having all the resources there at university to really excel in the game. I'd done well as an amateur at that point. I was starting to really make some progress in the game, but I was just inconsistent with my game. The more I practiced, kind of the worse I got. I lost a bit of confidence, things like that. But I did have a lesson once from a lady called Paddy McGowan. Now, Paddy McGowan, she was based, she kind of came up through the Ledbetter Academy, and she was based at Lake Nona Golf Club, which was only probably 40 minutes away from where I lived down in Florida. The next day I went out and played and shot 7 under in the qualifier for the team. We played a little golf course called River Greens down in Florida and shot 7 under. I should have taken it on from there. Should have taken it a little bit more serious, as in I should have gone back to Paddy a little bit more often than I did. I think I only went for maybe 1 or 2 lessons with her, but she was somebody that I think could have really kind of pushed me on. You know, we had gyms right there. We could have used, I mean, I was using the gym a lot, but I was probably doing the wrong things. I was bulking up a little bit, not really getting to my full potential. And university for me was a little bit stressful in the fact that I wasn't the most smartest kid in the room, should we say. So I had to work a little bit harder than probably most when it came to making sure that I got through my degree and finish off with a good education. But if I could turn back time, knowing what I know now, I think I should have excelled at that particular time. I should have really pressed on, got the coaching that I needed, and then started to compete when I finished university, get into those big PJ events, should we say, and start really pushing on in Florida. Josh McCormac, he said, if you could live anywhere in the UK, where would I live and why? Oh my word, that is, when you think about where do you want to live, I think about infrastructure around me that has the best golf courses. So Heathland Golf for me would be fantastic. Being at a high profile club like I've talked about, like a Hankley Common, places like that I think are just absolutely stunning Heathland courses, ones of which I'd love to be a part of. So if I was going to live anywhere, it would probably be gravitating more towards the London area, home counties, easy to get in and out of the country, isn't it, when you've got all those airports around there. So that, Josh, is probably where I'd focus. Will we see more regular vlogs, course vlogs in the future? Now, I will continue to do vlogs as much as I possibly can, as much as my time allows, as much as my budgets allow me to be able to go and do all these course vlogs, and as much as I've got when it comes to the support from the guys that want to be involved to do it. I know you've got, you know, the Gillies, my brother, you've got Joe the Pro, you've got, you know, getting Jordan out onto the golf course, all these guys that if they want to be part of it, if they want to continue to do the vlogs that we do and have the fun and the banter that we have, then yes, I want to do as many as I possibly can. But ultimately it comes down to, are people interested in watching them? You know, you go back sort of 3 or 4 years, we were flying, but then you do too many of them and I think people get a bit bored of the same banter, the same jokes that we were creating, and also the same faces on the channel. So you've got to get a balance there, and I do feel like I've got the balance right now. I feel like this year, even though there's been less, I think less is more sometimes. And I know you all want to see vlogs and I want to be a part of vlogs, but sometimes we've got to focus on what's right for the channel and what's right for the business moving forward. Springer 17198's response on Instagram. What years were you the club pro at Stam? Well, I wasn't actually talking in years. 2016, I believe, is when I first went to Staden Heights Golf Club. I was there probably about 3 months before I got a call from Torquay to head back to Torquay. So I was probably only there for about 6 or 7 months, and then we kind of moved on, which was disappointing in the fact that I loved Staden, I loved the members at Staden, but it was just the drive and it was the opportunity at Torquay. I had more opportunity to basically earn more money from the pro shop at Torquay being slightly bigger, and opportunities in Torquay were slightly bigger. So that's why I decided to make a business move back to Torquay Golf Club. Mark Doyle 5125. What? I don't know what is all these numbers at the bottom of everyone's names. I think, I don't know why they do that. Have you done vlogs at Dainton? I believe that's Dainton and Woodbury. No, I haven't. It's been the timings, not being able to get, like, either they've done their greens or I've been away and they can fit me in that time, or they're just a bit busy. So I've not had the chance to go and do Woodbury. Just a little story about Woodbury, actually. When my nan was still with us, Nigel Mansell loved his golf, and first bumped into him down at Dartmouth when he was attached himself at Dartmouth Golf Club when we were juniors. Now, he bought Woodbury, built it up, created it, and he had these two F1 cars sat in the hallway as you come into the front entrance there, and he came walking down the steps, and he kind of turned as if he was going to the bar, and he stopped, turned around, walked over to my nan, and just started talking about the cars to her. And I just thought, wow, like, took 2 or 3 minutes of his time to come over, say hello, introduce himself to my nan, and spend a bit of time with her talking about what the cars were all about, when he'd driven them, what cars, you know, what events he'd driven them in. I just thought, you know, possibly he's come across a little bit of negativity when it comes to the media and what's portrayed him as, and you know, he's at the end of the day, he's a winner. He wants to go out and win, so he's going to have that kind of selfish approach to him. But I thought, you know, he didn't need to do that, and he did it, and I was really impressed. So Dainton, just joined my kids up there actually, so they're members there now, because we only live a stone's throw from the golf course. Even though like Churston's here, they can come obviously and play here, but we're like 10 minutes through the lanes and we're in at Dainton. So I've been taking them out there, and yeah, I probably will do a vlog up there at some point, get out with Richard Woods and see how we get on around that golf course. Neil Gould, do you have any golf collaboration plans? Having the opportunity to play golf with someone like John Bickerton, who is still, to this day, the best golfer I have ever played with. What he can do with a golf ball is phenomenal. And we're just extremely lucky that he is the head pro of Minehead Golf Club, aren't we? You know, the stories that he had, that he was talking to us about when we were not on the golf course as much, but certainly when we sat down and had some lunch with him afterwards, was just amazing. So with that in mind, when we talk about collaborations, I think I really want to push on with my Behind Golf With Me podcast. And after I did my podcast with Sir Ian Botham, I actually sent it to John Bickerton, and I said to John, John, would you mind me coming up to Minehead and doing a podcast with you, because some of the stories he's got of life on tour is going to be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Some of the stories he had of like when he won in South Africa and things like that, absolutely superb. So my plan is to do a podcast with him, and I do actually think that probably podcasts with these quite famous people, I think that's probably going to be the way forward, if I'm brutally honest. Do I have any plans right now? Not massively, as in to go out and find these people and do things with, but as I grow with regards to like the podcast, I think that will open up doors for me to be able to get in and do more with other people of the high profile sort of world, should we say. Wow, this one. Times I've thought about this question. Do you know what? And this isn't a knock on anybody else that's kind of been around me or anything like that, but I probably wouldn't have taken quite as much advice as I have. But some of the advice I've taken has helped me, really pushed me on. You know, some of the advice I've had, like me and Jordan, when we talk in the office, you know, that sort of stuff, that's taken me in a different avenue, which has been successful. Some of the stuff that I've taken from Lee in the past has been hugely successful. Bernie's had some amazing input into things that we've done. So I probably wouldn't have come out the blocks as hard as what I did. You guys got used to seeing me 7 days a week, every day on the channel. I don't think helped, because when I then started to slow down or burn out, then you weren't seeing me as much or seeing the vlogs out as much, and therefore we didn't then see that momentum moving forward. So I think that probably didn't help. Another thing that I probably should have done, which I didn't do, is I maybe should have left working with Mark a little bit earlier and got on that boat a little bit earlier and got going earlier, because pretty quickly after COVID and pretty quickly after I got going in this, you know, it got busy, the space got busy, there were more people putting out content and therefore taking up more of my audience's time to then help me push this channel forward. So yeah, a couple of things that I'd probably do differently. Message in from Aaron Sinclair. Aaron saying, I'm struggling with strike, with my 5-iron off the deck, would it be worth looking at a utility iron? Well, interesting. I was doing some testing with Titleist a couple of years ago now, and we were looking at progressing in from the T100 4-iron at the time into a new T100 style 4-iron, and the biggest difference was to do with the sole of the club. The actual lofts and everything else looked the same, it felt the same, but they had actually worked around with their new sole design, putting that sole design more closer to what I was using, which was the bladed 5-iron through to wedge. Now the sole on the T100 was really quite chunky, and they'd moved it into a more thinner kind of sort of edge as well. They'd taken a bit off the front leading edge, which allowed me to be able to get that club to dig into the ground just a fraction more than I was doing. So the previous 4-iron was kind of bouncing off the surface, and I didn't really even think about this, and they call it like turf interaction. I'd never thought anything of it. But when I went to that different 4-iron, which had that sort of taken off, leading edge taken off, allowing that club to dig into the ground a fraction more, taking probably off the bounce, the performance was so much better. I was a bit inconsistent with that 4-iron. Great off the tee box, but when it comes to off the fairways, and certainly tight fairway positions, I felt like I was getting a lot of bounce off that 4-iron. Never really even thought about it. So it would be worth, Aaron, having a quick look at the actual club itself. Maybe you want to just try a few different other 5-iron styles off a nice firm surface, like a nice tight lie with maybe a linksy type of lie, and that might just help you improve that strike performance with it. The less loft that you have on a club, the longer the club gets, the harder it is to execute it correctly with the right amount of speed. So if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily swing the club particularly hard, then maybe having something like a hybrid, like a 4 hybrid or even a 5 hybrid, might just enable you to maintain good ball speeds with those off-centered strikes that we all get. What happened with the 2-ball golf show? I think it's more of a business decision, to be honest with you, Andrew. I think I tried really hard to really get things back together, like as in create the Sunday morning show, but in some type of podcast with Leicester, because I know that everybody really enjoyed that Sunday morning show. What do I miss about that Sunday morning show? I miss the fact that it was so easy to make. You know, there was never one script that me and Bernie ever had when it came to that Sunday morning show, where we would sit on 2 stools and chat for 30 minutes. Literally 30 minutes, and then it was a pretty straightforward edit after that. So but within 2 hours, I was done and uploaded and ready to go for the Sunday morning show. Now that makes life a lot easier when you're trying to create content. You know, if I make this Sunday morning show, you've seen me out on the golf courses, it takes a while to actually put it all together, come up with ideas myself and stories to talk to you about. But with that Sunday show, it was just literally a backwards and forwards thing, and I tried to put that into the 2-ball golf show, and it didn't go. It just did not move. You know, the Behind Golf podcast did better than the 2-ball golf show podcast. The show came onto my channel a little bit more because it was kind of on its own channel. Just didn't move. So I just kind of come to the decision that, you know, I needed to put my energy, and Bernie was busy doing what he's doing with his own channel. I needed to put my energy into doing other things, and sometimes you've got to pull the plug on certain things. And if you could interview one golfer, past or present, who would it be? Or if you could get one of the current pros on the channel, who would it be? There's probably 2 guys that I would absolutely, from the past, want to have interviewed. Bobby Jones, because I'm just a huge fan, what he was able to achieve in such a short period of his career in golf, really, because he went on to become a lawyer or whatever, and then moved on to create Augusta National and all that. If I'm honest, I would love to play golf, would love to have played golf with Bobby Jones at Eastlake. I mean, who wouldn't want to have done that? But picking his brain as to how he ticks, how he goes about his business, being not an underdog, but the fact that he's an amateur golfer within the professional ranks and winning the Open Championship and winning the US Open. How does that mindset shift, or was it just really different back then? I don't know, and I'd love to have interviewed him. The other one is Walter Hagen. Now, Walter Hagen, there's an amazing story with Walter Hagen where he came over to the Open Championship and he wasn't allowed in the clubhouse. So he's competing in the Open Championship, I think at Sandwich, I think at Royal St George's, I believe. He was ushered out of the clubhouse because as a professional golfer back then, you weren't allowed in clubhouses. This is why we see pro shops away from clubhouses, because pros weren't allowed in They were like the artisans, should we say, and then you had the gentlemen or ladies and gentlemen in the clubhouses, so pros weren't allowed in. Well, Walter Hagen, he'd been American, he came over on the boat and got his car and drove up to Sandwich and walked into the clubhouse, practice round probably, ushered out by the secretary. For the whole week, he parked his car in the secretary's spot for the whole week. Wasn't out in the clubhouse, I thought, up yours, I'm going into your parking space. I mean, he lived a very flamboyant life, one of which I would love to have picked his brain as to where he traveled, you know, what he got up to, some of the golf courses and some of the matches, the big money matches that he would play in. How did you find completing the PGA qualification, and was there any struggles along the way? The first year when I started up at Saunton, I remember my first assignment. At the time, you had to hand your assignment in to the head pro, which was Albert McKenzie at the time at Saunton. I handed it in too late. He gave me a bit of a roasting, if I'm honest. He said, Dan, if you're gonna carry on and do the PGA, you've got to make sure you get these into me in time so I've got enough time to go through it. Anyway, so with respect, that's probably right. So time management, massive. If you can get your time management right, you know, even if you spent half an hour every evening, 5 days a week, just focusing on your assignments, focusing on the questions that you're going to be asked for those exams, I think that's going to definitely help you. It was probably a little bit easier for me because I had already been through a degree. Now this is a foundation degree and I had already been through a degree, so a lot of the sort of things like referencing and stuff like that, they were for me pretty straightforward because I'd already been through there at university. So referencing really important when it comes to your assignments. But I just want to take this opportunity to wish you all the best, Harry. If there's anything else I can do for you, you know where I am. Next up, Gary Smith. How important is having a good caddy in professional golf? Gary, I think it is massively important. I think each golfer will have their own sort of way in which they want to do or use their caddy. But as you know, Gary, I played some of my best golf when I had a caddy on the bag. Oh, this is a great one. Kelv Hayes, what's the most memorable moment you've captured on your channel? Well, I want you to get involved with this one because there's been loads of amazing things that we've done in the past, but I want you to comment down below what's been the one standout moment where you guys have enjoyed it the most. For me, probably personally, take Paul's golf shot that he hit down the third hole here at Churston, holing out. We've not had many hole outs. We've had a few chip-ins and things like that, but we've never really had too many hole outs, and that's one that's definitely happened there. So yeah, I'd like to hear down there in the comments, what is your most memorable moment for yourselves on the channel? David M7031, what is your favorite course and why? Who is your biggest influence on your golf career and why? Well, Pebble Beach, probably. I've had a couple of mentors, should we say. Albert McKenzie was probably one of those mentors in the early days. Rob Butterworth was a mentor of mine, as in one of my bosses here at Churston. I would think David Ledbetter was a massive influence in me when it came to my initial coaching. I always say to trainees, go and buy the Faults and Fixes book by David Ledbetter. Great way of learning how to coach in the early days. Mark Crossfield was a mentor for me when it came to what we're doing right now. So I learned an awful lot from him, whether he knew it or not, but I did learn an awful lot from Mark. So I'm always very thankful of that opportunity. How are the tweaked PXG irons working out, or is it too soon to take a view? Well, Mike, I've put them straight in the bag and really enjoying them. They look great, they feel great. Are equipment manufacturers charging so much because they can, or is it actually justified? For me, golf has got too expensive. They talk about this thing of called growing the game. I mean, what does that even mean, grow the game? Like get more exposure to it? Well, if we're trying to grow the game and have more exposure, why has golf been taken off mainstream TV? The R&A, other than trying to grab money from the fact that they put their TV rights out for the Open Championship to Sky Sports and all these pay-per-view channels, like, why is it not back on BBC? Why is it not free for us to watch golf and help grow the channel, grow the game? If that's what they want to do, then they should be looking at things like TV and how they can get it into people's front rooms just that little bit easier. Golf YouTube is doing that and helping that. But these big brands, these big companies have a responsibility. Not just YouTubers like me to help grow the game, or golf pros, lump it on them to give free lessons and things like that. That's not fair. You know, ask the RNA, why are they not putting the Open Championship, the Ryder Cup, why is that not on mainstream TV? And that really makes me, well, as you can probably tell, it makes me quite angry that it's not there, because that is what helps grow the game. That was my first experience of watching Jack Nicklaus back in the late 80s with my dad on the couch watching the BBC, watching the Open. That was my first experience, and that's what most people's first experiences are going to be. So yeah, it's got too expensive, and grow the game, well. Julian Roll. Julian is going to be on our trip this week, coming over to France with us. Julian, hello. Is YouTube in your long-term plans? For example, when you hit 50,000 subscribers, will you call it a day? Julian, I have wanted to call it a day many times. My goal, Julian, and I'm not sure I'm ever going to give up on this goal, is I want this silver play button given to you by YouTube when you hit 100,000 subscribers. So I can't not hit that goal. That's been my goal from the beginning. So my plan is to continue. Will I call it a day at 100,000 subscribers? We'll see. Next up from TP Goods, I believe, TP Goods. TP Goods says, have you tried lab putters? If so, your thoughts? Well, if I'm honest, I have had a go with them, as in I get a bit of an understanding of what they're about. This one is actually Leicester's lab putter, and first impressions are, I mean, it's so ugly. I mean, that is a lot of club, isn't it? The first time I ever saw this club was probably back in about 2018. I think it was this style of putter. And even though the tech in this style of putter has been there, certainly since probably 2018 and maybe before, I'm not 100% sure, I do not quite understand, if it's so good and it's so game-changing, why there's not more players using it. I know there's a few more coming out, but I do think that even though I understand the tech behind it, I think if you could create one that was actually a little bit more in keeping with what we're used to from an eye point of view, then maybe it might sell a little bit more. But I just think it's just like, where's the feel when it comes to looking at something like this? And even my brother's one, you know, which looks a little bit more like the Tesla, the new truck that they've got out. I just don't get it. Don't get the look of this putter and how it doesn't inspire me, put it that way. But what I would say is that Joe the Pro is a big fan of this putter, but the tech into it allows the putter to stay super stable right the way through, so it's always staying nice and square towards your intended target, I believe, is kind of where we're at. But I do think that there's a lot of other things kind of going on within your putting, not just the actual putter itself. There's obviously, you know, what you're bringing to the table with your hand positioning and all that sort of stuff. I think where it works really well is, you know, where like Adam Scott uses it, and he uses it more like a broom. So it sort of has a point here and then it kind of works around that point. I believe that that is where it excels. I think that's where we've got it absolutely spot on. If we could have a center point in there and then it just moves off that point, which unfortunately is like anchoring, then I think that works. But having it something that kind of moves away and through, I don't know is the answer to that. All I know is that why are like not the top 10 players in the world all using it? You know, you would think that if it was that game-changing, that all the players on tour would be jumping straight into using the putter. But for me personally, really bloody ugly, if I'm honest. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week's Sunday morning show, catching up with me for some questions. Apologies if I've not got round to your question. I've tried to answer as many as I could in the time that I had. Thank you so much for everybody that's put their questions forward. It's actually been a lot of fun kind of giving me thoughts about what would I have done different, and, you know, making me think just that little bit more, I think is actually really important. A couple of things that I've been up to this week on the channel is I've been up at Stoke Park. I've been working up there with JJ. Myself and my brother went up for a couple of lessons with him. So some really exciting stuff coming your way when it comes to the content, but also exciting stuff for me personally working on my game. Big thanks to all of you that watched last week on the Sunday morning show as well. Me sharing my story, I think it went down actually really quite well. And I'll probably do another one at some point when it comes to kind of like my PGA journey and some other things that, and if you want to hear of anything else, then feel free to put your comments down below. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. A big thank you to all. We're nearly there, aren't we? You know, could we hit 50,000 subscribers by Christmas? That would be fantastic. Thanks for watching. See you again. See you next week. Agree with that, George?
Yep. Like that.
Like that.
On the money.